Welcome to the first ever podcast, Racing Through Life by OpenRace. My name is Matthew.
What's up, guys? I'm Christian.
And both of us go to the University of Waterloo. We're students there, engineering students, and we decided to start a little company that we like to call OpenRace. Basically, it is a real-time virtual running app that allows runners to connect and motivate each other through real-time virtual running. We also help event organizers increase their revenue, reach a larger audience, and provide a more interactive virtual race. We found that the virtual race industry was extremely boring. You just go run a race and send in your time, and you're paying $25 for a medal at the end of the day. So we wanted to improve that experience, and yeah, that's kind of what we did, and we want to start a podcast associated with that.
In simplest terms, if me and Matt wanted to run a 5K, let's say, in different cities, I was in Toronto and he was in Montreal, let's say at 2 p.m. Eastern, once 2 p.m. hits, where there's a lobby, 10-second countdown, we both run our 5K, and we actually get in-person updates of who's winning the race, the position relative to others, and it's a more interactive race that we felt the running industry, for virtual races at least, it didn't have. And especially with COVID-19 nowadays, the running industry is taking a big hit, and I think OpenRace is taking over the future for virtual running.
Exactly, yeah. And we wanted to start Racing Through Life to connect with other runners, other people in the endurance sports community. It's a very tight-knit community. As we saw, we were doing a lot of interviews with potential users. We were talking to a lot of runners, a lot of event organizers, running clubs, and all of them really were very passionate, I would say, right?
Yeah.
About just running.
Yeah, and they're very close with each other. And I think if you're not within the running community, no one really kind of knows or understands other runners unless you are a runner. And I think for anyone that's trying to get into running, it's a big thing because it's like you don't know really where to go, who to talk to if you're, I guess, doing this right, in the sense that training methods. Runners are very close with each other, but if you're starting, it could be a lot hard. And we think Racing Through Life's a great opportunity for people that are trying to run, even like if you're a competitive runner, get different aspects on other runners, event organizers, and just a better overall view on, I guess, running.
Yeah, there's no one really that's kind of diving into this community. It's mainly just people going out for their runs, like doing their own thing. And running's a very individual sport. So we want to kind of bring that together and make it more of like a team sport, bring that community closer together that it already is. And we're going to do this through Racing Through Life. So during this whole podcast series, we're going to try to release one every single week. We've got a few lined up. This will be our first one.
Yeah.
And we want to just talk to different runners, talk to different event organizers, and not only talk about their running routines and their tips and what they did to get to the point where they are at, but more about their life. And we want to do this just by talking. We'll do this over a virtual Zoom call.
Yeah.
And who's our first guest today?
Our first guest today is Neely S. Gracey. She is a mother of 2-year-old son, Athens, and a professional runner for Adidas. Her stats are incredible. She's got a 2:30 marathon, an hour and 9 half marathon, 32:16 10K, a 15:25 5K, and a 4:36 mile. So
That's
she's
incredible.
And those are incredible numbers. So she's going to be joining us today. Let's give a round of applause. Let's give a round here.
Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, not too bad. Do you guys want the video going as well?
Yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be great. If not, we got your picture up here.
Yeah, no worries. I can get the video going.
Okay.
Just a sec. Good. I'm untangling my headphone cords.
we had to get the mics up and running this morning as well. First podcast ever. Well, not ever, but first podcast for OpenRace.
Yeah.
Nice. That's exciting.
Very. You're the first guest.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. What an honor. You guys are like so official too.
Yeah, it's like a virtual background. We just had
That's very cool.
How was your day and weekend?
It was good. Let's see. Just did a run this morning and didn't feel as tired as I usually do on Monday, so can't complain.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So basically what we want to do with this podcast is kind of just bring on runners and other people in the endurance sports community and talk about running, but also just about like your life outside of running. So we have like a few questions here we'll go over. We'll kind of sway off the questions sometimes as well.
Okay.
But why don't you start it off with like the first question?
Perfect.
We'll get it rolling.
So I guess the first thing to start off is kind of when and how did running become such a big part and such a daily routine in your life?
For me, my story is a little interesting, I think, because I was born into a running family.
Cool.
And so I'm not sure if there was ever like any one like day where it just was, you know, all of a sudden my life shifted.
Yeah.
Just because like my dad was in the Olympics when I was 2, and you know, my mom was always a runner. So I remember like at such a young age, like learning how to ride a bike so I could keep up with my parents while they ran.
Oh, wow.
So running was just like, this is just what people do. Like I didn't really know any different. Like we would spend summers in Colorado, and I didn't know that other kids didn't spend summers in Colorado for altitude training with their parents. Like
Oh,
to
wow.
me, that was just normal. So I would say that when I like personally set goals for running was in 8th grade. I watched the Foot Locker National Championship on TV, and it's, you know, like the top 40 best high school cross country runners in the country. And I looked at my dad and I was like, this is so cool. I want to do it. And I was like, not really running at all at that time. And my dad was like, okay, well, it takes a lot of work to be good. And I was like, okay, tell me what to do. And from that moment, I would just like kind of, I guess, embrace running for myself. So that would be the moment I would say whenever running became a big part of my life. But I still was very much like a kid. You know, I was 13 and I was just having fun with it, but I had set a goal. And so I wanted to put in the work to meet that goal. But then there was a kind of like a defining moment in college when I ran at the Mount Sac relays. And I ran the 5K there. And that was, I guess, my junior year of track. And I ran 15:34. Wow. And it was my first time like ever breaking 16. And that was like the first race where I was like, I think that I could do this. Like, I think I could be a pro. And so that was kind of my defining moment for like realizing what the future could hold.
Wow. Okay. I have a couple things just from all of that. That was
That's
great.
crazy.
So the first thing, so what did your dad run in the Olympics then?
Yeah, my dad ran the marathon in Barcelona.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That is.
And you didn't start, so you didn't start training until
13.
grade 8?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Were you running periodically, like between, like you would go for runs like for fun growing up to grade 8, and then grade 8 you were very set in stone. I had a plan, and now I'm more like consistent and competitive with it.
Yes, exactly. Wow. I think that before that, you know, I ran like a turkey trot with my grandma when I was 9, and that's always fun to talk about because I think I ran like just under 30 minutes for that 5K. Wow. And so like from my first 5K running, you know, almost 30 minutes, I like nearly like halved the time. And so that's kind of like a cool progression to look back on. But yeah, I used to do like fun runs and little like, you know, youth track stuff, but I didn't train seriously. And I didn't have like, you know, a lifestyle built around my running and my training.
Wow. That's crazy. Did you end up making the Foot Locker Nationals in high school?
Yeah.
I did.
Nice.
So I missed it as a freshman. I missed it as a sophomore. And then I went as both a junior and senior.
That's crazy. What a great story. You just saw it on TV and you're like, it took you 2 years to get there. That's good for you. That's crazy.
Thank you.
Wow. What what's been your training routine since then, and like how has that progressed over the years? So like since like high school, and like how much of that maybe came from like your dad helping you through that?
Yeah, so I've definitely had a really like steady progression, I felt, for the first like 9 years or so of my running career. So in 8th grade, I ran like I don't know, 3 days a week, something like that. Like I still wasn't like training super seriously, but we eased into it. I definitely had a more like quality over quantity type approach where like when I would run hard, but I didn't run a lot. And then as I kind of got into high school, that shifted. I probably worked up to around like 50, 55 miles a week in high school towards the end. And I still always took a day off. And then I transitioned and kind of just like slowly built up from there when I was in college. But in high school, I considered myself more like a miler. I always ran the mile at like the state championship events and everything. But then my last race as a high school athlete was I think it was the New Balance 2 mile track championships at the time. And so I went and I ran that and actually won that event. So that was like a really cool thing to like kind of go out as like, I won a national title as a high school athlete. And then that was in the 2 mile, even though I never really focused on that event. So I kind of had this, like, I think I'm going to be better, like at longer distances. And so, when I went to college, I definitely focused more on the 5K, and I loved cross country. And so I would run anything from like the 800 up, but the 5K was definitely my passion in college. And so I probably hit like 60s to maybe 70 miles in college. But that would have been like my max. And I still took days off from time to time. I didn't do a ton of like second runs or anything like that. And then right out of college, I joined the Hansons, and we kind of started progressing my mileage with them. And I started transitioning more to like the 10K.
Wow, that's impressive. So so just to kind of reiterate on that. So once you got to college, did you get a scholarship, I'm assuming, to college?
Yeah, so I ran at Shippensburg University.
Cool.
It's a small Division II school in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
And it was my hometown. It's where I grew up. But I actually like took all of my official visits and like visited big schools. Like I came to the University of Colorado. I looked at Baylor. I looked at Penn State. And so I had kind of like explored a bunch of different options. And then I decided that I didn't want to change too many things my freshman year, and that like the transition to collegiate like racing and collegiate academics would be a challenging enough transition that moving and like leaving my family and going somewhere completely foreign would be maybe just a stress that I didn't yet need. Yeah. So I decided to stay close for that purpose with an intent of transferring later. But then I just really enjoyed it, and I had a great team, and we were super successful, and my dad was my coach, and I really trusted him and respected him. And so it just felt right. And then of course I like met my future husband, and that was that. And then I wasn't transferring. So I really, when I look back on that, I don't have any regrets. Like I really enjoyed my collegiate experience, and I really enjoyed racing and being really competitive. And I felt like I was still plenty challenged.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of people would choose that like Big Ten or that big school over their hometown, like wanting to maybe get out of their hometown and see those like big shiny D1 offers and choose there. But that's really cool that you chose like their home school, really was really successful there, and then continued to be successful past that. So that's really cool. Applaud to that.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was great. Like, I mean, you know, having a scholarship definitely has made life way easier on this end, not having school loans. And you know, I felt like I was able to transition, like you know, I was able to just continue that progression from like finishing high school as a national champion and then taking that right into becoming a national champion as a as a college student during my freshman year. And so that was really awesome. And I really enjoyed having that success as a freshman versus being like, well, as long as I can kind of stay the same, like with all the other stresses, like I didn't want that. I wanted to keep progressing and like continue to see the progress that I was working for. And then like academically, I found a major that I really liked. And so that just kind of clicked too, where I was human communication and coaching. And so I knew that I kind of wanted to become a coach someday. And I just felt like it was perfect. And so I was really happy. And I felt like the whole dynamic worked really well for me personally. And that it wasn't about, like you said, like the fame or like the, you know, well, I could go here or I could be part of this, you know, D1 school or this D1 team or this nationally ranked program or whatever. But for me, it wasn't about that. It was more personal.
Cool. Just to stick on to coaching, because we do see that you started your own coaching business in 2013. So you knew, I'm assuming in college, you always had the idea that you wanted to coach one day and you wanted to help and teach people. So why in 2013, what was the deciding factor that made you say, okay, I'm going to start now. I'm going to start the coaching business now?
Well, I had a little injury, and so I was kind of bored, and I was like, I need something to do. And I'm not someone that like when I'm hurt as a runner, I like don't want to be around running. Like, I still really want to be a part of things. And so I have like FOMO for sure. And so like, how can I be involved and like engaged in the sport, even if it's not like for my personal goals. So when I had this injury, I kind of just put like some of my time into like setting up an LLC and getting the business started. And it like, basically I started with like 5 Facebook friends. I was like, posted on Facebook. I was like, hey guys, anyone want to coach? And they're like, a couple of people were like, sure, that sounds great. And so I started like really super small, and I would just like write Word documents and like send it in an email every 2 weeks to my athletes. And then we would just like text, and they would send me screenshots of their Garmin data. And that was like how it all began. And then I just kind of grew like every year. It's just gotten bigger and bigger. And now I have about 80 athletes that I work with. And yeah, now we have a little bit more of like an official setup where I use a training platform called the Final Surge. And so I upload all of their training onto it. And then it's like an app that they use, and we can communicate back and forth. And so everything's just so much more organized. So yeah, it's been really awesome, and it's really cool to be like, wow, this is what I went to college with, like the vision of what I wanted to do, and I made it happen.
Just a question on so you have 80 athletes. Would you say, I guess these athletes are, I guess like younger, like high school, maybe like elementary school, like just starting to run, trying to get into the running, college athletes? Are they just, what kind of, what's the demographic there between your athletes, if you could pinpoint?
Yeah, so I mostly work with post-collegiate age.
Cool.
So I have several high school athletes. I have several college athletes. But the majority of the people that I coach are somewhere between 25 and 50, I would say.
Okay.
I have a couple athletes who are like really solid age group runners who are over 50, which has been really fun to work with. So I just love, like, everyone is so different and unique, and their goals range from, you know, my high school kids trying to run the 800 to people trying to do ultra marathons and trail races. So there's just like so much variety. And my my personal philosophy is that everyone is different, and everyone's goal is different. Everyone's life stress is different. Yep. And so no training plan should be identical. And so I like customize every training plan for each individual based off of their fitness levels, their goals, their background with running. And that is something that I really enjoy doing. And I think that's what brings me a lot of joy during the whole coaching process and writing the training plans and working with each athlete individually, is that it's like all about building up these relationships, getting to know them, getting to know what they, need personally to be successful. And I think like one example that is so good is that we had there were 3 athletes that qualified for the Olympic trials this past January. And so when I looked at all of their training, each of them had a completely different training plan leading into the race that qualified them for the trials and into the trials itself. And even though it's the same distance race, it was on the same day, they're all different. Like they all have different jobs. They all have different stress on their system. One girl responds really well to like long runs and hard tempo runs. Another girl responds really well to more like speed work, and then just like putting in a little bit of endurance work, but not nearly as much as others. So, people had a range of 50 miles a week to 75 miles a week. Like it really just depended on each individual and what they needed. So even though they were training for the same big goal, their schedule looked completely different. And so that's something that I think I've just really enjoyed over the years, is almost like the art that's a part of coaching.
Yeah, that's great. And the whole entrepreneurial journey, how you made light of the situation of the injury, and kind of like, I feel like everything like has happened for a reason in your life. Like you decided to go to the college in your hometown, you met your husband, and now the injury, you found your business, which you always wanted to do. Any kind of, hurdles you had to come over in like your entrepreneurial journey? And as you grew your business, for your customer base, did you also add more coaches to your team that you kind of trained?
Yeah, so I was just going to say that. That's perfect. So I found that I have loved coaching. And as the business was growing, I really put a lot of time into my coaching focus whenever I got pregnant with my son 3 years ago. And so that whole year, like during my pregnancy, I wasn't really able to train or run very much. And so I really focused on growing business. I went and set up group runs at like different races, and would meet up with people and would plan like locally in Boulder where I live. I would host long runs and put like water stations out for people, and like it was just open to the public, like anyone could join. And so I really like just wanted to find different ways to participate in the sport, even though I couldn't run myself. And so one of those ways was growing the business. So then when I had my son, I realized that when you have a baby, your schedule is all of a sudden like very unpredictable.
Yep.
And coaching is unpredictable, like the online coaching, because like one day I might wake up and have 2 emails. And one day I might wake up and have 70 emails. Like I don't know like who's going to need help on what day. And so to make sure that I could stay really strong with the communication that I pride myself in with my athletes, I brought on my college teammate who also went through the coaching program to help me out. And so Katrina Spratford, has been helping me for almost 2 years now. And it's been awesome. So she has like her own team through our training program, as well as she kind of helps support some of those emails that come in and different stuff if I don't get to them in time. So together we make a really good team. And she also has a lot of like physical therapy background. So whenever we have people who have injuries pop up, you know, she's able to like put together some rehab programs for them really quick and all of that. So we make a really good team, and it's been really fun. And so, yeah, between the two of us, we have close to 100 clients that we work with.
Wow. That's crazy. Good for you guys. On the note of your family and your newborn son or 2-year-old son, Athens, is there any reason for the name Athens?
Great name.
It's
Great
a phenomenal
name.
name.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So my husband and I, obviously, we're both big runners. He ran in college at Shippensburg as well. And then he graduated 2 years ahead of me and was our assistant coach for those couple of years until I graduated. Now he's my coach. So we're both just like very involved in the running world. And so, I mean, I think it was like right after we got married, we were like, all right, when we have kids, we want to name them after Olympic cities. And that was just kind of like what we thought would be really cool. And so when we found out we were having a boy, our conversation was so easy. It was like, so you like the name Athens? That still sounds good. Perfect. Let's go with it. And we chose Athens because it's the first modern Olympics, and it's also the birthplace of the marathon. So that it kind of has like two cool meanings that are both associated with sport, I guess. But if he doesn't want to be a runner, it's totally fine. We are perfectly good with him finding some passion. As long as he has a passion, we'll be happy and we'll support it.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome. That's really cool.
That's a good.
I thought like if it didn't have a name, I was gonna be kind of disappointed a bit. But that's really cool. Like I didn't even think of that.
I just went on Google Athens name meaning, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I was like, now there's way more meaning behind just like searching up Athens. I was like, okay, never mind.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
When you're from Pennsylvania, and you're living in Colorado now?
Yeah, we've been in Colorado for almost 6 years now.
Okay. And is it the reason why you're in Colorado because of the altitude, or did you like it better there? Did you enjoy your summers as a kid a lot?
Yeah, well, I loved being here growing up. And then during college, I started coming out here for like summer training stints. And I remember the first year we came out was 2010. So I was going into my junior year at Shippensburg, and my then boyfriend came out, and we both were just like, we are going to move here someday. And so, you know, then the next year we got engaged, and we still kept coming out every summer. And then when we got married, we were like, okay, we got to find a way to get to Colorado. And so it took us a couple years. We actually lived apart, where he was working in Pennsylvania for a bit when I was training in Michigan. And then he was working in Texas at Houston, in Houston, at U of H, helping Steve Magnus coach. And so we were apart for like a really long time. Like the first, I guess, like 2 years of our marriage, we didn't really live together very much.
Wow.
Which definitely was challenging, but we also were like, we have this goal, like we need to like both be happy, and we need to find a way to like get out there. And so in 2015, he got offered a job out here. And so I happened to be training here already at the time for an altitude stint, and I ended up never going back. Like I just stayed here. Dillon went, he packed up all of our stuff, brought it out, and that was it. And it's like one of the best things we've ever done. But it was kind of crazy how it all happened, and like all the things we had to go through to make it like reality and make that goal, become real for us when we had set it so many years in advance.
Yeah.
Just to comment on that, what's the best, if you could pick the best, like one thing about Colorado that you just love, like what is it? Anything that sticks out?
I would say For me, it's like the healthy culture, like the atmosphere. Like growing up, like spending summers here, but then living in Pennsylvania. I love seeing how active everyone is here and how fit everyone is and how there's so much to do outside. Like, even if you're not a runner, you can be a hiker, a cyclist, a rock climber. You know, there's just so much to do, and there's just endless opportunity for people to explore the outdoors. And so that's been, I think, like my favorite part about it. And that was one of the big reasons why we wanted to raise our kids here versus Pennsylvania, was them growing up in just this like culture of health and fitness.
That's a really good answer, because one of the things I've noticed just reaching out to so many different runners and athletes from all over, especially North America, Colorado has a lot of runners and just a lot of competitive, not so much leisure, but a lot of competitive athletes and runners, especially long distance. Colorado has a lot, and I've reached out to so many over there. So that's when you said the health and the fitness of the culture, that just stuck to me. Like, I agree, just from doing my due diligence research, Colorado does have a lot of runners. That's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, and it's really great. I mean, I have so many friends here, and especially like being a runner mom, it has been so nice to have the support of other runner moms. And you can find that here, where back in Pennsylvania, you know, it just wasn't as common. And I grew up in a really small town. And so I think I stood out. Like, I still stand out. If I go home for like 2 days, people are like, oh, Neely's back in town. Like, cause there's someone running around. So I think that I think it goes such a long way for me, just going from like what I knew growing up, like when I was in Pennsylvania, and then coming out here. And I also really just like the endless amount of running places that you can go. Like, you never get bored because there are so many off-road places. When I was growing up, you know, and like in 8th grade through college, so much of my runs were on the road, because that's what we did. We ran like country roads. And while that was nice, I like literally never run on the road here ever. I like am always on a trail somewhere or a bike path somewhere. And so now I go back and I'm like, I can't believe I ran on all these roads. Like, there are cars on the roads. This is so dangerous. But here, like, you know, we just are so spoiled. So I really like that part too.
Awesome. And do you think sorry. Okay.
No, you go.
Do you think the altitude in Colorado has like affected, or I guess helped your times and your training? Because you have like super impressive times here. The 2.5 hour marathon, almost hour 10 half, 32-minute 10K, 15-minute 5K, almost a 4-minute mile. Like, those are unreal numbers. Something I would never be able to hit. Do you think the altitude in Colorado has like affected that in a positive way?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has. I always feel stronger training at altitude. Now, I'm pretty used to training. We're at like 5,200 feet here, so just about mile high. And I would say that now I notice like a really significant difference when I train at like 7,000 or 8,000 feet. So I think that while I definitely see a difference here, because I still run probably 10 to 20 seconds slower per mile for workouts here than I would at sea level. The hemoglobin boost that you get from going to 7,000 or 8,000 feet would be that much more significant when I went down to race at sea level. So I've definitely done some like higher altitude training camps, even though I live at altitude. And so that's kind of interesting, but I would get blood work done before I went, and then I get blood work done after, and you could see the bump in the hemoglobin and like the ability to transport oxygen throughout my body, which is what gives you like that ability to run faster at sea level. So I know that it for sure, I'm a responder to altitude. One of the challenges is recovery. So it's harder to recover at altitude. And I have found that I usually do better if I'm doing just one hard workout per week. And then I do like a very light, short other workout versus trying to fit in 2 hard workouts throughout the week. That's just kind of like, I just haven't been able to recover as much when I do that. And then I risk like sickness and injury more so. So I've learned to adapt for sure.
That's great. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, that's all the questions we kind of have. We want to do this little speed round with you. That we're going to.
I'm so bad at these.
No, these are good. These are really
good questions.
Like these are my favorite questions here.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll do this with all our guests. You're the first one, so good luck. Do you want to start off?
I'm so nervous.
No, okay.
You don't have to be that.
It's not really a big deal. It's just for fun. Okay. Favorite pre-run snack?
Honey Stinger waffle.
All right. Favorite post-run snack?
A bagel.
Favorite cheat meal?
Pizza and ice cream.
Good one.
Okay. If you could be one thing other than a professional runner, what would it be?
A high jumper.
Wow, that's a good answer. Favorite part about being a mother?
I have to pick just one? My favorite part would be how much they love you no matter what you do.
Good one.
That's great. Favorite Netflix show?
The Office.
Fast. Dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be? If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive.
And why? This one can be a little longer.
And why? This one we want reasoning.
President Obama.
Okay.
I think, because when he was president, the NCAA champions for D1 got to go to the White House and have dinner with him, except for D2 didn't, even though I won a national championship that year too.
Oh,
okay.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Would you call him out for it, or you just want to have the dinner?
No, I'm sure he didn't actually make that decision.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone else did.
Yeah. That's the speed round. Congratulations.
That was it,
You killed it.
Oh, my heart rate is so high right now.
All right. You want to end it off? Quick?
Yeah. Neely, we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. You're extremely busy. We know that, being a mother and being a competitive runner. So thank you so much. If you guys want to check out Neely, she has a couple socials here at neelyruns.com is her website. You can check her out on YouTube at Neely S Gracey, and her Instagram handle is at Neely S Gracey as well. Once again, thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much. First podcast went great.
Yeah.
And you're the reason.
Well, this was really fun. Thank you so much for talking with me. Hopefully it wasn't too much about running, because I feel like I talked all about running and not about life that much, but we can do a life one another time too.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to bring you on. We talked about your life. We got you and your family in Athens, and your life has been running.
Yeah, your life has literally been running.
It's very much not multi-dimensional, so I feel like I'm always doing the same thing, but thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll definitely keep in touch, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Awesome. All right.
Have a great day.
Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
Perfect.
Awesome.
And
that's our first podcast, everyone. We're still recording.
Is that good?
That was good. That was awesome. Well, 50 minute episode. Cheers. Hope you guys liked the first podcast. We're going to have we got a few people lined up.
We have a couple. We've got, I think, 5.
Robbie Ballinger's on the list, who ran across
the
United
country.
States,
Yeah.
LA to New York
2.5
in
months.
75 days.
2.5 months.
Yeah, we've got another Olympic athlete. We've got an Olympic race walker on the
Sabrina Sutherland.
Tom Bosworth, Sabrina Sutherland.
We're missing one. Who? We're missing.
And PJ.
PJ Thompson.
And Nessa Fraser.
So we have a couple lined up here. It's going to be a hectic next few weeks. It's going to be awesome. And, I'm really excited.
If you guys want to see anyone in particular, maybe message us. Yep. We'll send them a message, try to get them on. And or if you have any other questions you want us to ask these people, these athletes, we'd love to ask them. We kind of just had a little list here today. Little notebook. Oh, it's great.
It's a great note. There it is.
Cheers, guys. Hope you liked it.